I welcome you to my channel. Subscribe and listen to my new stories every day. On a brisk autumn morning, the mundane routine of my day was shattered by the sound of the doorbell echoing through the quiet halls of our small suburban home. I was at the kitchen table, lost in a haze of work emails and deadlines. Startled, I glanced at the clock. It was just past 10 a.m. Who could it be at this hour? I opened the door to find a courier, nondescript in his uniform, holding a small, elegantly wrapped package. His presence was ordinary, but his delivery was anything but. "Package for Ms. Sandra Mitchell," he said, extending the box towards me. "That's my wife. She's not home at the moment." "I can take it for her," I replied, my curiosity piqued by the unexpected delivery. "Sure thing, sir. There's a note attached," he pointed out, his demeanor unfazed as he handed it over before turning to leave. The note was penned in a cheerful, looping script, "From the baby." Confusion washed over me. We didn't have children, nor were we expecting any. The very thought sent a chill down my spine as I tore open the package with a mix of trepidation and disbelief. Inside, nestled among soft tissue paper, were various adult toys, not the innocent gift the note had suggested. My heart sank, a cold, hard knot formed in my stomach. Rage mixed with shock as I stood there, the contents of the box a blatant mockery of the life I thought I shared with Sandra. The house felt smaller somehow, as if the walls were closing in with the weight of this betrayal. Hours passed in a blur of anger and plotting. By the time Sandra came home, I was a statue of cold composure. "Sandra, we received a delivery today." "It seems there was some mix-up," I said, my voice even, as I presented her with the box. Her face, usually so open and readable, closed off as she saw the contents. The color drained from her cheeks, her eyes darting up to meet mine, searching for a sign of my reaction. "Oh, that? It's not what it looks like, Alex," she stammered, the words tumbling out in haste. "Isn't it? Then, please, enlighten me," I replied, my tone sharp as a blade. She faltered, her explanation a tangle of half-truths and deflections. None of it made sense, her words did little to veil the lies. The trust between us, once unbreakable, was now shattered like glass under a hammer. That night, I lay awake, the image of Sandra's panicked face haunting me. The betrayal was a deep cut, but it was her continued deception that fueled my resolve. I decided then, under the cover of darkness, that I would not let this deceit go unanswered. Revenge, a cold and calculated response, began to take shape in my mind. I would ensure that Sandra regretted her actions, not through petty acts, but through a strategy that would leave her with nothing but the remnants of her duplicitous choices. As the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, my plan was clear. I would divorce Sandra, expose her lies, and reclaim my life from the ruins of this betrayal. She would lose everything, just as I had lost my trust in her. The path forward was fraught with legal battles and emotional warfare, but my course was set. Sandra's deceit had awakened a side of me I never knew existed. This was just the beginning. As the sun rose, casting long shadows across the hardwood floors of our home, I began my day with a single-minded purpose. Today, I would set the wheels of retribution in motion. My first stop was the office of Jack Reynolds, a well-known attorney in the field of family law, reputed for his ruthlessness. I arrived at Jack's office just as the city was waking up, the streets buzzing with the early rush of commuters. The reception area was sleek and modern, the walls lined with awards and recognitions. It was the kind of place that instilled confidence, or fear, depending on which side of the lawsuit one found oneself. "Mr. Mitchell, Jack will see you now," the receptionist said, her voice a practiced blend of warmth and professionalism. Jack greeted me with a firm handshake, his gaze sharp behind polished spectacles. "Alex, let's get straight to it. What brings you in today?" I laid out everything, Sandra's betrayal, the delivery, her flimsy excuses. As I spoke, Jack took meticulous notes, nodding occasionally without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. Based on what you've told me, Alex, you have a few options. We can go for a straightforward divorce, or we can dig deeper, see if there's more to her activities that might influence a settlement. Dig deeper, I said without hesitation. I want to know everything, and I want her to feel the consequences of her actions. Understood, Jack replied. His smile was thin, almost predatory. I'll need to gather some information, financial records, communications, anything that might be relevant. It could get messy. Whatever it takes, I affirmed, my resolve steeling. Leaving Jack's office, my next step was clear. I needed to gather evidence myself. I headed home, my mind racing with possibilities. The house was quiet when I arrived, Sandra still at work. Perfect for digging through her things without interruption. I started with her home office, a place she kept strictly private. It took me less than an hour to find a stash of receipts and credit card statements tucked away in a locked drawer. I photographed everything, my hands steady even as my heart raced. The door creaked, and I froze. Sandra was home early. I swiftly tucked the papers back and locked the drawer, just as she called out, "Alex, are you home?" "In here," I called back, forcing a smile as I met her in the hallway. Her eyes searched mine, a flicker of unease passing through them. "We need to talk," she said, her voice hesitant. "Not now, Sandra." "I'm headed out," I replied curtly, brushing past her. My dismissive tone was calculated, designed to keep her off balance. As I drove away, my phone buzzed, a message from Jack confirming a private investigator was on the case. Things were moving fast now, and there was no turning back. Sandra's web of lies would unravel, and I would be there to ensure every piece fell apart. Tonight, I would sleep with the knowledge that the gears of justice were turning. And in the depths of betrayal, I found a new ally in my relentless pursuit of retribution. The city lights blurred past as I drove aimlessly, trying to gather my thoughts. Each red light was a reminder to breathe, to focus not on the pain, but on the plan. Jack had messaged me again, the private investigator had found something and wanted to meet in person. My grip tightened on the steering wheel, the first tangible piece of evidence against Sandra was within reach. I parked outside a dimly lit cafe, a nondescript spot chosen for its privacy. The investigator, a man named Carl, was already waiting, sipping his coffee with an air of nonchalance. "Mr. Mitchell," he inquired as I approached. "Yes, Carl. What do you have for me?" He slid a folder across the table. "I've been following your wife for 2 days. Here's the rundown: regular visits to a downtown apartment, lengthy stays, and, this might be hard to take," he paused, his eyes measuring my reaction. "Just show me," I insisted, my voice steady despite the storm inside. He handed me a series of photographs. There was Sandra, unmistakably close with a man I'd never seen before. My heart sank further with each snapshot, documenting every hug, every intimate laugh shared between them. "The man's name is Derek Summers," Carl continued. "Divorced, wealthy, known for certain types of parties." "Types of parties?" I asked, my curiosity piqued despite the circumstances. "Adult-themed. Swingers, if you will. Your wife's been on his guest list for the past 6 months." The room spun slightly as I processed this. 6 months. Half a year of deception right under my nose. "What do you need from me now?" I asked, my voice cold, distant. "Guidance on how deep you want this investigation to go. Surveillance, digging into financial ties, whatever you need." "Everything," I said without hesitation. "Leave no stone unturned." Carl nodded, his expression grim. "You'll have everything by the end of the week." As I left the cafe, my phone rang. It was Sandra, likely wondering where I had vanished off to. I considered not answering, but I needed to maintain the facade a little longer. "Hello. Alex, Where are you? We need to talk. It's important. Sandra's voice was tense, a hint of desperation threading through her words. I'm on my way, I lied. We'll talk at home. I hung up, my mind racing. This was not just about betrayal anymore, it was about uncovering the full extent of Sandra's double life. I needed to prepare, to strategize. By the time I reached home, the gears were turning, not just in the investigation, but in the intricate dance of confrontation I was choreographing. I spent the rest of the evening in the solitude of my study, plotting each move like a chess player poised for a checkmate. When Sandra arrived, her silhouette framed in the doorway, I knew what had to be done. We need to talk, Sandra, I echoed her earlier words as she sat down, looking wary. Yes, we do, she agreed, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm not who you think I am. Her confession hung in the air, heavy and ominous. But I was ready. Ready to listen, to argue, to end this charade. Tonight, the facade would crumble, and I would reclaim my life from the ruins she had made. The storm was here, and I was its harbinger. The tension in the room was palpable as Sandra and I faced each other across the expanse of our living room, a space that suddenly felt charged with the electricity of impending storm. The soft glow of the lamp did little to warm the chill between us. Sandra, start talking, I demanded, my voice a controlled calm that belied the storm raging within. She hesitated, taking a deep breath. Alex, I've been lying to you. I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping me. That much is clear. But I want details, Sandra. All of them. It started 2 years ago, she began, her voice faltering. I met Derek at a conference, and things spiraled from there. The parties, the lifestyle, it was all a thrill I couldn't find with you. Each word was a dagger, but I steeled myself against the pain. And you thought you'd keep this a secret? Forever. I was selfish, she admitted, her eyes not meeting mine. I never thought it would go this far. As she confessed, I pondered the depth of her deceit. It was not just betrayal, it was a calculated affront to our marriage. But I had plans that would ensure this night ended with Sandra losing much more than just a husband. I know about Derek. I know about the parties. And everyone else will soon know as well, I revealed, watching as her face drained of color. What do you mean? She stammered. I've had everything documented, Sandra. Photos, videos, the works. And tomorrow, it all goes public. Your friends, your family, your colleagues will see who you really are. Sandra recoiled as if struck. You wouldn't dare, she whispered. I dare, Sandra. I dare to end this charade, I shot back, my voice icy. As her realization sank in, the fight seemed to drain from her. But I wasn't done yet. This was only the beginning of her unraveling. And the financial coup de grace, I continued. I've spoken with your employers, hinted at scandal. You'll find your position less secure in the morning. Her eyes widened in horror. You've destroyed me, she gasped. No, Sandra. You did that all by yourself. I'm just ensuring the narrative is accurate. As she absorbed the weight of my words, I felt no triumph, only the hollow victory of a man who'd lost what he cherished to the abyss of betrayal. There was one more thing to do, one final act in this tragic play. Sandra, I want you out of this house tonight, I declared, my tone leaving no room for negotiation. And our marriage? Her voice was a mere whisper, broken, defeated. I'll have the papers sent over tomorrow. Sign them, and we can both start anew, apart. She stood slowly, her movements robotic, a soul crushed by her own actions and their repercussions. Without another word, she turned and walked away, her departure marking the end of our life together. As the door closed behind her, I felt the weight of what had transpired settle around me. The silence was profound, as if even the house itself recoiled from the cold justice served within its walls. Revenge, I had learned, was not sweet. It was necessary, yes, but as I sat alone in the quiet aftermath, I realized it brought no joy, only the somber satisfaction of a wrong acknowledged and addressed. The night grew deeper, the shadows in the room lengthening as I contemplated my next steps alone. Sandra's betrayal had been avenged, but at what cost? The answer lay in the quiet, in the solitude of a life reclaimed but forever altered. In the end, justice had been served, ruthlessly, completely. And in its wake, I was left to rebuild, to find a new purpose beyond the shadows of deception and the ruins of a love lost.